Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. You know Ben Schneider from the Grid Ranking Show, but obviously we're not talking about racing tonight. For many people that do not know this about Ben has another passion of his. It is game shows, which is a very popular topic among a lot of NASCAR writers. We all apparently a bunch of them love game shows and WWE wrestling. I don't know. I guess I guess everyone's tweeting about it or something. But Ben, how are you?
I'm doing all right. I can't tell you much about wrestling though. Like I know who like John Cena and The Undertaker and Triple H are, but you know I couldn't tell you anything about how WWE works or anything.
I am right with you there. I don't know. It's a sport that I don't understand. Obviously, I'd like to get into, but who knows? But I know you know plenty about game shows, and that's why we brought you on.
You know, I know it's kind of impromptu that we're doing this, but guess what I was working on when you texted me? I was working on a script for why winning $1 million on Jeopardy is almost impossible. So I've got the first video on that. It's a new series that's coming to my channel. The Wheel of Fortune script is recorded. I'm working on editing it right now, but I'm also I had the house to myself this weekend, so I'm working on the script for the Jeopardy one is going to be the next episode in that series, and then we're going to go through some more game shows down the line there. But that's literally what I was working on when I got the text saying like, hey, do you want to just go on a Zoom call here and talk about Jeopardy, because obviously it's been in the news this week. So yeah, that's literally what I was working on when you gave me that text.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, so let's get into it. Probably the main reason why what this episode is happening, and obviously we're going to talk about more stuff because we can't just talk about one topic on here. So the biggest news, obviously, is Jeopardy is named the permanent hosts. Obviously, since the passing of Alex Trebek, they're trying to find new hosts. Of course, they had all these celebrity hosts that came in, but for the last two seasons, it's been Ken Jennings and Mayim Bialik. I hope I'm saying that right.
Right. Yep.
So, of course, they've been sharing the hosting duties. What is and I know you know a lot about this topic, so I'll let you kind of explain all this. Why two hosts?
That is an excellent question. You'd have to ask Michael Davies that, or I guess any other executives at Sony. I gave a reaction. I put a short, 9 or 10 minute reaction on my YouTube channel, right after the news broke. It's not unprecedented for the primetime version of a show to have a different host. For example, Family Feud did this before Steve Harvey was the host. John O'Hurley was hosting the daytime show. And before ABC revived the celebrity version, NBC actually tried it in 2008, and they got Al Roker to host it. Wow. So Al Roker did this 6-episode series. I don't know if John O'Hurley just wasn't available, or if they, thought Al Roker would be a bigger name within the NBC network. I don't know if that was a promotional reason that they did that or what, but there have been other examples, like the nighttime version of The Price is Right has sometimes had guys like Dennis James, and I think Tom Kennedy did a version at some point as well when Bob Barker was hosting a daytime version. So, it's like I said, it's hardly unprecedented for shows to do that. But I was thinking, when the rumors were going around that they wanted both Ken and Mayim to remain in the Jeopardy family, but I thought it made more sense for Mayim to host the primetime shows, because that's what originally was announced. It was Mike Richards would be the host of Jeopardy. Mayim Bialik would do the primetime specials and spinoffs and things like that. Obviously, the whole Mike Richards saga goes down, and then Mayim's drafted in to replace him in the immediate aftermath, and then they bring Ken Jennings back on. But I just think, there's something poetic about Ken being the successor to Alex. On Ken's first day of taping, Alex left his cufflinks for Ken, before they went in to tape his first ever episodes as the host. So he just kind of seemed like the perfect heir to Alex Trebek. But, apparently Michael Davies and Sony have been insistent that with the grand plans that they have for Jeopardy, they wanted to have two hosts. And apparently they meant two hosts of the daily syndicated version. So it looks like Ken is going to do the first half of the season. He'll do the Tournament of Champions, which I know is very highly anticipated. You've got super champs like Matt Amodio, Amy Schneider, Mateo Roach will be there as well. And, some potential great rematches coming up for that. And then the second half of the season, Mayim will take over, and she'll also do the Celebrity Jeopardy spinoff in primetime that's coming up, as well as the college tournament. college championship, I guess I should say, which was very successful this year. But it is weird to have two full-time hosts of the same show in the same time slot. Like it's the same daily syndicated show, but they seem to be splitting it up, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I'm sure there's reasons behind it that I'm not aware of. I'm hardly a Jeopardy insider here. But yeah, I mean, I was expecting Ken to get the daily show, Mayim to get the primetime show. It looks like they're gonna split it up pretty evenly, so you won't be guessing like week to week. Is it Ken this week or is it Mayim this week, like we were this past season here, which is, I suppose, good. But I was pulling for Ken. I got nothing against Mayim. I think she's done a good job, but I do like Ken just a little bit better, and I think Ken was better suited for the Daily Show. So I am a little disappointed that he's only going to be doing half the year, but he's still a consulting producer. He's still part of a Jeopardy family, and I'm sure he will be for many, many years to come.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, the Michael Davies name should sound familiar. Of course, he was the executive producer for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire all those years when it was on NBC. So what happens next? Because it's an interesting time for Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, because usually they would have the same executive producer on the same film, because when Harry Friedman was there and before Mike Richards when Mike Richards took over, he did both. And then obviously Michael Davies did both until, Wheel of Fortune was on good terms, and looks like that is. And of course I think they're finding somebody else from what I'm understanding. So
yeah, actually, I just pulled it up because I know we were talking before we started recording this. There was a Variety article in March that said Bellamy Blackstone. It's a name that I didn't really recognize, but she is currently, I guess, the executive producer going into season 40 of Wheel. But you're right. It has historically been, Harry Friedman did both. Mike Richards came in and replaced Harry Friedman, so he was obviously doing both. But it looks like Michael Davies is devoting his full attention to only one of the twin Sony game shows here, which is kind of interesting.
It is. And you just said it. Wheel is celebrating its 40th season.
That's right. Kind of hard to believe, but yeah, season 40 next year.
Yeah, the thing is, it's like, and usually many pieces come up, but Pat and Van are still there.
Yeah, and this is the interesting thing to me. If you allow me to kind of revisit Mike Richards here for a little bit. I don't know if people realize this about Mike. Maybe they're just Jeopardy fans or they're newer game show fans, but Mike actually auditioned to replace Bob Barker in 2007.
It's true.
And after the whole thing went down, it's still up on YouTube, I believe. His Price is Right audition got leaked by somebody. I don't know who. It's just this Mike Richards vid YouTube channel. It's the only video on the channel, but you can go watch. Mike Richards hosted half of a practice taping episode of The Price is Right, and he does an okay job there. There's nothing really special about him, but he keeps the game flowing and things like that. And I gotta say, I'll still stand by, even though I think it's clear at this point that Mike was not the right candidate for taking over the job. I'll still stand by that. I think he is a skilled television host. He's hosted shows before. If you watch GSN, you probably saw him on their Pyramid Revival in 2012, on Divided as well in 2017, around that time period. So I think Mike, in his situation, because I think like Ken obviously wanted to host Jeopardy. Like, it makes sense to keep Ken in the Jeopardy family, and if he's going to host any show, it would obviously be Jeopardy and taking over for Alex Trebek. I think Mayim as well, being in the world of science and everything, it's a great fit for the show to have her host Jeopardy. You couldn't see her hosting like a fun party game or just any other game show like The Price is Right. Whereas for Mike Richards, I think Mike just wanted to host a game show. He didn't care if it was Jeopardy. He didn't care if it was The Price is Right. He didn't care if he was doing, GSN stuff. So I think a lot of people have thought about it and said, if, with the nature of the hosting job opening up for Jeopardy, which is obviously a tragic way for that position to open up with Alex's passing. But if Mike had just, given the fans some transparency over the hosting job and allowed for Ken to take the position or brought somebody in who auditioned well and became a new host of Jeopardy. And then if, in 5 to 10 years, whenever Pat Sajak inevitably steps down, maybe Wheel of Fortune would have been a better fit for Mike Richards to be the host of a game show. Because I think another complaint that Mike Richards had among Jeopardy diehards was that he didn't really understand the ethos of Jeopardy. You know, there were some controversial rulings in Final Jeopardy when he was executive producer, and you know, just some decisions that he made, and obviously, of course, all the baggage that was uncovered after he was appointed the new host.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a new era. You know, we can leave all that stuff in the past now, and hopefully, if there's anything we can take away from this, whether you're happy with whether you wanted Ken or you wanted Mayim, I can't imagine that you would have wanted anybody else at this point with how much of a circus the whole guest host parade was. But it's all finally over, so we can move forward. We can enjoy season 39, and I wish the show 39 more fantastic seasons to come, because it's an unbreakable format. That's the thing. The show is strong enough that it can withstand all of this drama that's been through the last couple of years.
I know I think there were some people that wanted LeVar Burton to host it, but
there were, yeah. And I think LeVar did okay. I think he was, you know, I'm not convinced that he got the fairest shot, because he only got 1 week, which is only one taping day. He had his episodes that aired against the Olympics. And again, I know the Olympics ratings were down as well because it was an off year with COVID and everything, but you know, it's still competition. You know, so you can maybe say that hurt him in the ratings a little bit. And then there was a piece that came out in a Ringer a couple months ago that, you know, Mike Richards apparently wasn't convinced that LeVar Burton was passionate about it, but he wanted a job and everything. So, you know, again, I'm not convinced LeVar maybe got the best shot that he could have, but I do think, you know, I'm glad he got the opportunity to guest host, because I know he wanted it. But I think ultimately Ken would have been my first pick out of all of them.
Yeah, and it turns out it was. How long do you think? And when you look at, we were going off on something else, but going back to Wheel, my original question actually.
Sure.
Going back to that 40 years of that, and Pat and Van are still there. They kind of changed the theme music a little bit, which well,
they didn't change it. They went back to what it used to be.
True. I forgot they did. They did.
Changing keys. That's the theme that I think Wheel fans know and love, and I'm glad they brought it back, because I think it's the best theme Wheel's ever had.
Yeah. I was so used to because I don't remember that one. Obviously, I've watched it on and off and stuff, but I don't remember that. But yeah, it was good. I think they're making the announcer more visible now, and
they are. Yep, Jim Thornton.
Yeah, and then of course the season. Of course, it'll be here before you. I think usually the second week of September is usually when the new season kicks off. But really, with all these shows, something I'm going to be noticing is, are we going to see the studio audience come back? We haven't seen that since COVID happened. I think we've gone 2 seasons without it, or they may have had it in there, but they didn't really show it. But could we see something like that?
You know, I think I saw an advertisement recently within the last few weeks. I think Jeopardy is selling tickets. So if Jeopardy's selling tickets to the studio audience, I think Wheel of Fortune is probably in the same boat with how closely related those Sony shows are. So, you know, and I hope that, you know, obviously, you know, like The Price is Right and Let's Make a Deal are audience participation shows. So those, you know, the sets obviously needed a major redesign when they brought back, you know, the limited audiences and everything. You know, but I think we're at the point now where, you know, enough people, you know, and again, like, let me be very, very clear. Not a doctor, not a scientist. Don't take any, you know, COVID or vaccine related advice from me. I'm just giving my opinions on where we stand as a, you know, American citizen.
Yep.
I personally think enough people are vaccinated, boosted, have had the virus, or a combination of all those things. And the newer variants are obviously much more mild than what we were dealing with 2.5 years ago, that, you know, especially if, you know, everybody's vaccinated or the majority of people are vaccinated, we can probably safely have a studio audience again. So I think it's great that we're hopefully, keep your fingers crossed, going to see that in the new seasons of these shows that are coming out in just a few weeks.
Yeah, of course. Probably, you mentioned it, the 2 biggest ones would be Price is Right and Let's Make a Deal, because that was because I know that CBS was honestly, when those shows came back, because it was like, oh, they're bringing them back now. I didn't really know how they were going to work, and I'm like, wow, they made it work. It's like you never know how they would make it work, and then they find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
but
or people playing Let's Make a Deal from over what we're doing right now. It was over Zoom and calling into the show. Yeah. And then you had obviously your limited audience, but that was my biggest question mark, was like, you can do Jeopardy without an audience, you can do Wheel, but The Price is Right needs an audience to work. But they found a way.
Yeah, they did. What are we going to expect this these next two seasons? Because with those two shows coming up, it's really you got Let's Make a Deal and you got Price is Right. They're still back to back. I feel like for a while it was just Price is Right and something else, but really over the last 12, 13 years, Let's Make a Deal has really started to make a comeback. And I don't know, maybe it's finding former Who's Line people to do that with.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Wayne Brady has been fantastic. Like, I think he obviously brings a different flavor to the show than, Monty Hall did. God rest his soul. Monty Hall was a fantastic host as well. But, Wayne is so good at what he does. And obviously having Jonathan Mangum there as well. The two of them play off each other really well. So I think Let's Make a Deal is a very solid format in a very solid time slot as well. Got a lot of good things going for it. And then, of course, The Price is Right is, probably going to be on as long as television is around. And, Drew Carey's still going strong. And, season 51 coming up. I'm a little disappointed. I was hoping we might get like $1 million spectacular again. And I know we had a lot of special episodes for season 50, but I thought maybe CBS would go even a little bit bigger than they did, because 50 seasons for any television show is simply phenomenal. But, like I said, Price is Right's very strong, and I'm sure season 51 will be as good as ever too.
Yeah, I think so. You look at just those two shows and what they've been able to do during daytime TV has always been good. But I know that also we've talked about the syndicated shows. We talked about the CBS shows. Obviously we haven't talked about all those shows, bringing back all the game shows that ABC's brought back in all the years. It's like, oh, let's see. They pretty much brought everything back. I mean, like they brought oh God, help me out here. To Tell the Truth, they brought back. Then they brought back, Pyramid, the $100,000 Pyramid with Strahan. And they brought back Press Your Luck. I never thought somebody would bring back Supermarket Sweep, but that show's back. Am I missing anything?
We had Match Game. Match Game was one of the original three with To Tell the Truth and Pyramid. And then, Family Feud's in prime time now. Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy will have the celebrity versions as well. You had Millionaire come back very briefly, and there was an interesting tweet from Michael Davies a few months ago. Like, I think Buzzer Blog was saying it looks like Millionaire's parked. It's not still in production. And, there's a cryptic tweet from Michael Davies suggesting that maybe that's not true. So we'll see if there's any news on that front in the coming months. But I don't know. Did I mention Card Sharks with Joel Mchale? That came back.
Yep.
I think that one's probably gone at this point. But and then the originals too. Like, I've been enjoying Generation Gap with Kelly Ripa. Holy Moly with Stephen Curry being the EP on that. So there's even been some originals that I think have done well. And I got to say, it's not only ABC. NBC brought back The Weakest Link, and Fox is going big with these musical game shows, including Name That Tune, which they brought back. So it's a very good time to be a game show fan, especially if you grew up with a lot of these shows, and now to see these new versions of them, it's pretty cool.
Maybe someone will bring Greed back. I don't know.
Well, I think that's going to have to be Fox, and I'm waiting for Fox to realize that maybe we have enough singing competitions and singing game shows. So maybe we can get back into the trivia sort of thing. But I would love for Greed to come back. I think obviously you're going to need a new host. Because I think Chuck Woolery is retired, and he probably brings some baggage as well at this point in his career. But it's one of my favorite game shows of all time. I think it's incredibly underrated. I think Fox pulled the plug way too early in 2000. I think it still had a little bit in the tank. But yeah, I'd love to see Fox get back in it a little bit. And excuse me. You had Nickelodeon even bring back Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader a couple of years ago as well with John Cena. So there's a lot of game shows that have been brought back, but there's still a lot of really solid formats. Like I'd love NBC to bring back 1 versus 100. That was another one of my favorites as well that we haven't seen in a long time. So that could be an interesting one as well.
Then obviously they'll have to have a new host because, of course, that of course was, I believe that was hosted by the late Bob Saget.
It was, yeah.
I was, if I'm not mistaken. But well, remember GSN did bring some sort of that show was brought back at some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, Carrie Ananaba hosted that, and again, it was very weird because like the mob was all virtual, and the top prize was only 50 grand, so you could tell obviously it was a much lower budget production, which makes sense, GSN versus NBC. But I think that version you can still stream it on like Pluto and Game Show Central and things like that. But it's been a while since we've seen the NBC episodes with Bob Saget, and obviously been a while since we saw any new episodes at all. So I think that's another one.
Yeah, I think that one, maybe Shop Till You Drop. That's another one. I keep seeing a lot of those too.
Yeah, well, I mean, Supermarket Sweep again, I think is kind of the same genre of that. So maybe that kind of audience is they've got Supermarket Sweep going for them. I don't know, maybe give it a few years for that to run its course, and then maybe we can bring back the Shop Till You Drop name as well.
No, Supermarket Sweep's like the nostalgic type show. It's like you still go on and watch. It's like, who doesn't know what that is? It's like, nothing excites me more than people running around the supermarket with shopping carts, going after big things. Let's see, what are big popular those big packs of Huggies diapers, or the Bertolli olive oil. Remember that? Let's see, the big things of big wedges of cheese that go for like $18 or something. So it's it's nothing like that. I always like the bonus. It's like, oh, there's a bonus literally right there in front of you, and you don't see it. And you just walk right, you just blow right past it. It's like it's like that show. It's like when you're not there, it's like when you're in there, you're probably like, oh. It's like when you're not there, you're shouting at the TV. It's like, oh, it's right there. Why don't you see it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all shows to a degree. It's much easier to watch it from your couch and not have the pressure of being under the lights and real stakes, playing for money or anything. But when you get on set, I'm sure that's true of any show. It changes your perspective a little bit. Okay,
so we haven't talked about the GSN shows yet. They're bringing some sort of back, and they bring in like, oh, what are they been? You see these people that host the show. That's what they're doing now. What shows have impressed you though over there on GSN?
You're talking about shows that are on GSN, like new episodes now.
Yes.
Well, really, I think they got a very strong lineup. I have to say, I wish there were more acquisitions. It looks like they focus very heavily on original programming. I do wish there were more shows like Deal or No Deal, and it looks like they just brought Cash Cab back, which is a good acquisition to have. But in terms of their originals, I think America Says is probably the best. It's been the longest running, and it's still in production. I think they probably have enough episodes at this point that they could just put it on the rerun shelf. But John Michael Higgins has done a phenomenal job with that. Very impressive they got Dylan Lane back to host Chain Reaction, because I feel like no disrespect to him, but he kind of fell off the face of the earth after Chain Reaction's first run was canceled, and obviously that show's been rerun to death on the network for the past decade and a half now. But I feel like we hardly heard anything from him. I actually came across his LinkedIn page a few years ago, and I think he was like a wind technician for General Electric, so like a completely different career field. But GSN must have obviously still had his info and got him back, and I think he's done a solid job with the new version as well. I like People Puzzler. I think that's another good one, especially people that like word games and things like that.
Sort of puzzle that stuff. And obviously King of Queens fans would love obviously the host and all that stuff.
Yeah. Leah's done a good job with that one as well. Trying to think what else is. I guess Tug of Words with Ahmad Rashad was not bad. I think we might get a second season of that. I'm not entirely sure on that one, where that one stands.
There's a name I haven't heard in a while. Ahmad Rashad, of course. Believe that for I'm not mistaken, that he covered the NBA a lot. Like back in.
Yeah, and I think there was a game show type of a program that was on ESPN that he might have hosted as well. But Yeah, again, kind of an unexpected name to get for a show like that, but I think that was a solid show and a solid format as well.
Yeah.
Again, common knowledge with Joey Fatone. Again, I don't know if we're going to see more episodes of that, but I think all of their originals recently have been pretty good. They've gotten away from, for a while GSM was always trying to break into the reality world a little bit. Like they acquired Dancing with the Stars.
Yes.
All those years ago, and they'd always try these, weird reality competition shows and things like that. Skin Wars was the one that I remember just looking at yeah. I mean, it got 3 seasons, but I think it had a large out of network audience that was keeping it alive for a little while. But definitely wouldn't consider that a game show in the same sense as you would, obviously all of their other shows and everything. But there's been a lot of really underrated shows that they've had over the years. Like I think The Chase that they originally had, that's another one that ABC's brought back as well. You want to circle back to that one, but their version of The Chase was very good. Yeah, the American Bible Challenge was a ratings record setter.
Yep.
Lingo was on for so many years, so there's been a lot of
there is a very liking of, obviously, if remember the Wordle craze, man, probably still going on.
Yeah.
It derived off of Lingo. There's actually a lot of lingos that are on there. People that know me, you know who you are. I know how much you love lingo. There are people that I know that obsess over that show. It is that was fun. They need to bring that back too.
They are actually. CBS is working on it right now.
Ooh, you just broke some things on here. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's I'm a little surprised that they're not streamlining it a little bit more. It looks like it's going to be sometime in 2023. But RuPaul is hosting the show, which is obviously a completely different.
That of course will be interesting.
Anything
RuPaul is always.
So you go from Michael Reagan, the son of Ronald Reagan, to Chuck Woolery, to Bill Engvall, to RuPaul Charles, which is a very, very, very interesting chain of hosts there for your game show. But no, I'm excited, and I hope that they can build on the Wordle craze a little bit. But I'm a little concerned that by the time we get it to air, maybe like there will still be people playing Wordle and it'll still be around, but it might not be the. I think even now it's cooled off a little bit from the craze. Like everybody was playing it. A few months ago, and I'm not sure that's the case anymore, but we'll see. But it is coming back, so stay tuned.
Never really played that. That's actually very interesting. Anytime we go to game show, we know where to go now. We're just going to call you up. So that's what's impressed you so far this season among out of the shows we've talked about this year?
What's impressed me, just on any show?
Yeah.
Well, I was really impressed by Press Your Luck. And I have been. I think it's probably the best primetime show right now. I think The Chase is right up there with it. But and again, you don't really edit these things, right? So this will be up, if not tonight, by tomorrow morning.
Oh yeah,
for sure. But so I guess I can say on Thursday night's episode, I don't know if you were watching then, but there was a guy that was very close to being the first millionaire. He had 420,000 roughly going into the final round, and he instead of choosing to walk away, he went for it. And on his second of 3 spins, he whammied out and ended up losing. I mean, he had this crazy $200,000 trip to the North and South Pole that was the bulk of his bank, but it was a $433,000 whammy, and it was just like, it was so devastating to watch the reaction from the audience and on social media and everything. So that definitely set a record for the most painful whammy in the show's history. But he did get 25,000 on his last spin, so he did go home with something at least. But still, not great that happened, but it showed that the $1 million prize is definitely winnable. But I think, just beyond Thursday night's episode, I love the personalized prizes. I love Elizabeth Banks and the energy that she brings. I think in terms of being family friendly, it's probably the best show for that right now as well. Cause some of these shows like Match Game with Alec Baldwin definitely was not necessarily family friendly there. Obviously there are some questions on Family Feud that aren't exactly TV PG rated anymore. I can't believe that show doesn't have a TV 14 rating yet, on some episodes. But yeah, I really like Press Your Luck, and I really like the chase. I think it would be nice if we still had Ken and Mark Labette in the rotation of chasers, but the new chasers that they brought on this past season, I think, were all very, very strong, and it's a really good cast of characters there as well.
Okay, we talked about who impressed. Now let's do the opposite. What are you not impressed by, if there is any?
I'm not too impressed by. I got to be honest. I'm not impressed by Wheel of Fortune right now. I think Wheel of Fortune has a lot of problems that need to be ironed out. I think they started doing this several years ago. So in season 32, to mark the 32nd season, they raised the bonus round minimum from 30,000 to 32,000.
Yep.
And they continue to do that every season. So, I've lost count of how many bonus rounds we saw. The $39,000 envelope this past season. But the problem with that is that when that's your minimum that you're giving away in the bonus round, you can't deplete the prize budget too quickly, right?
Right.
So these bonus round puzzles, I mean, there have just been a couple that I guess that's a thing, or I guess that's a phrase that maybe somebody once said once upon a time. But I would rather see contestants win $25,000 3 times a week than $39,000 2 times every 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the bonus round's a little bit too difficult, and I think they have to make it that way to ensure that they don't lose the prize budget that quickly. But I think also they have to cast, there are contestants that I think just don't really know how to maximize their output when playing the game. Like they'll like have the puzzle in front of them and like be calling letters to accumulate money, and they'll land on $3,500 on the wheel, and they'll call a letter that's only up there once, and then they spin it again, they land on 400, and they call the letter that's up there 5 times, and it's like, well, you could have had 5 times 3,500 if you'd called that letter the turn before, and then when you spin on a lower amount, that's when you call the letter that's only in the puzzle once. So it's just little things like that, like contestants that are just there for to try to win money, but don't actually know the game theory that well. It's like the contestants that bid on the Price is Right, and they're in the 4th slot, which is the best slot, and they don't either bid $1 or $1 over the contestant that they think is closest. It's not maximizing your opportunities to win the item and get up on stage. So Wheel of Fortune, I think the casting needs improvement, and obviously the bonus round puzzles I'd like to see a little bit easier for season 40. I think, again, if 40,000 is the minimum in the bonus round next season, you're probably not going to see that, but we'll see where they go. I also haven't been too impressed with the weakest link. I've got to say, I think Jane Lynch is phenomenal. She is as close to Ann Robinson as you could get without bringing back Ann Robinson herself. So she's a perfect host for the show. But, the question writing is just so terrible. Like, there was a question, earlier this season where, contestant was asked, I think it's terrible that this NBA analyst, and they're talking about Charles Barkley, and you've seen all the terrible memes with him, but, I think should never be a part of a serious a question on a serious quiz show or game show like that. Just the question writing is just so filled with fluff and, unnecessary. And then again, it's the same idea, the contestants that they cast, they don't know how to bank at the right times. They don't know how to maximize their output when they're building a chain, and they miss some of the easiest questions that are thrown their way. So, I would love to see like a celebrity episode of The Weakest Link with like just Jeopardy contestants and see how much money they can win. Because then you get people that not only are very smart and have a bunch of general knowledge, but they know how to play the game, and they know how to, strategize with each other, and, who to vote off and who the weak links are going to be. So I think Weakest Link has a lot of problems, and also the fact that it took them over a year to air these episodes, and there was almost no promotion from NBC. Like the Weakest Link Twitter account hasn't tweeted in over a year. So, I was disappointed about that, because again, Weakest Link was another show that came out of the turn of the millennium $1 million game show primetime boom that was happening. And it was great to see it back, but I wish NBC had done a little bit of a better job with it.
Yeah, it's fun to see all these shows come back, and obviously, as you mentioned, Lingo's coming back next year, so that'll be interesting for sure. But Ben Schneider, thanks so much. We'll probably have you on again back in maybe we'll have you on again probably sometime next month. I don't know, whenever you want to come on and watch, or well, probably September when all these shows start to premiere. So
yeah, well, if there's big news that breaks in the game show world, just shoot me a text and we'll make another one of these happen again.
Know where to find you. All right, good to see you, bud.